Let me explain something to you about paramedics. We respond to emergency situations, life-threatening situations, you know, like dying.
Oh, for the love of God! Somebody get the jaws of life!
Relax, these are rescue firemen. They're trained for emergency medical work. They'll do just fine.
Well, welcome to another session of neighborhood training. This week we're going to be continuing to work in the West Falmouth area. In particular this week we're going to be working on the area of West Falmouth. I guess the best way to describe it is North Main Street, West Falmouth. We're going to be working for the Station 3 second due area of West Falmouth, which is basically from Chappaquiddick Road on up to Route 28A. And we'll just see if we can kind of delineate that real quick here and show where that line is. I'm sure that we're all familiar with it, and the dispatch maps will show it, but we will be able to hopefully be able to show that in particular here. Here we go. Okay. All right, there we go. Now that's where the breakoff point is here, and is Chappaquiddick Road. It includes the first few houses on Chappaquiddick. It includes the houses directly across the street from there, and then on up Blacksmith Shop Road through the first few houses off of Blacksmith Shop Road, this section of Fraser, this section of Lindsley, and then all the way up to include all these houses in the development here. It should also include this house here, 51, but for some reason we do not, but it should show up in Telegraph Hill. And then on the way up to Blacksmith Shop Road, we'll mention here that this is the last house on the West Falmouth side of Blacksmith Shop, number 130. So we go from number 8 up to 130, and then across the highway we start up at 134 on the other side. Okay, so that kind of just breaks up that line there, and we will just go back quickly to look at the Google map, although it has some limited value in this case here, but it does show a few, does show an overview of a few things that we want to look at from above here. And of course we have the baseball field, tennis courts on Blacksmith Shop Road. We also have Friends Way, and up in the back here is the small old Quaker cemetery. But I wanted to more effectually show the Carlisle Road, Ambleside Drive development and its characteristics, the way the road network is laid out and how close the houses are. As you can see from here, real world, the houses are far enough apart here, so we're not talking too much transmission from one house to another, and it seems to be some as it focuses in and out here. But that's a development there, has about 100 houses in it, and we've had a couple of fires up in there. In this expanse here, a lot of woods, not too many houses here, a lot of houses tucked in, and we see that in different areas of Falmouth where we have houses that are tucked in to the woods on long driveways and difficult to see. We also have that here as well. And the other thing we'll look at is here we have some construction. Here it says Foreman Lane. I don't know. It's the old Domingo's Chowder House. It's about 850 West Falmouth Highway. They're building a bunch of condos there, and they're under construction, and actually at this moment they're finishing up construction there. Okay. We will go back to this map here and work our way. Here we go. We might as well stay right down in here while we're here. We talked about Blacksmith Shop Road already in Station 4 right here, and we have the first road on the right is Fraser Road, and it is a dirt road, services a couple of houses, if we're talking about those houses that Station 3 Rescue has here. And then Fraser Road actually cuts through to Fraser Road further down West Falmouth. This is Fraser Road off 28A that comes to Fairway Lane. Fraser comes up and goes across over to here, and you can get through here. Unlike Lindsley, this is Lindsley Road here, right across from Friends Way. It comes in, services a few houses here, and kind of peters out and doesn't really go anywhere. So on the map it shows it's connected, but they're not. Not so much in practicality. Friends Way, once again we have a house tucked in the woods and a hydrant here. And up here is a Quaker cemetery. And we have a few houses tucked in. Once again, that's Blacksmith Shop Road, and then Telegraph Hill Road. Running around this circle. Used to have the 2 water tanks there, and I believe they're taken down at this time. We'll have to get Boyd to work on changing this section here to include this house here, because it doesn't appear to be any way to get to it except from that way. Okay, we will run back down and run up West Falmouth Highway. Of course, right across from Station 4 is the Emerson House complex, which we will show right here, being as we are right now. Let's look at let's see, hopefully this will come up here. Number 611. This is the rear of the Emerson House instead of the front, which we're all used to looking at. I decided to take a picture from another side. And one of the good things about the Emerson House is it does have supervision. It is a 3 and almost 4-story wood frame building, probably in the range of 5,000 to 8,000 square feet. It does have a sprinkler system protecting the public hallways within, so the people are able to escape. Also, I took this picture because I wanted to show the network of fire escapes that they have arranged throughout this whole building. And I know they do have a pretty good elaborate escape plan, but there is quite a few ladders almost surrounding the building for the residents to get in and out of. So that's an important factor that we deal with there, even though it is a 4-story in the rear building. And I believe this is probably built in the late 1800s. A lot of these large houses were built in that period of time. Won't bore you with the history of the building, but that's about when it was built. And we did mention that they had a sprinkler system, and we should be able to see evidence of that here. Here is the box 743, and here is the connection to the sprinkler system, if this camera will focus in on it, which apparently it won't. This is it's only, I believe, like 1.5 inches fitting. I suppose fire prevention could suggest that these folks put a sign up here that say there's a FTC connection there, fire department connection. That would probably be helpful for us to pump into. And once again, that only protects the hallways within the public hallways within there, but it is also supplied by its own water supply within the building. Okay, so here we are back at our map here. So that takes care of the Emerson House. Okay, why aren't we focusing in here? Okay, and next to that we have the West Falmouth Library. One of the things about this section of West Falmouth that's important, Route 28A, and I will just pull out a little bit here. Route 28 in West Falmouth has multiple uses in multiple zoning districts. Part of the zoning, most of this section, the 28A, allows for business zoning. Much of it is historically designated to protect the historic buildings there. We have many older buildings there, which could mean balloon frame, which could mean the building being cut up into different apartments in units. It could mean that a lot of these older buildings have been renovated, some void spaces and upgraded and different levels of that. It could mean small businesses. Someone could have a home business in this area. It also allows for condominiums. There's quite a few 2, 3, and 4 unit condominium complexes on 28A in West Falmouth. So those are the things when we go out the door and we get called there, whether it's for medical or a fire, that we have to begin to think of. And we have to be familiar with the area, we have to be familiar with the address, and those little cues are going to give us what we need to be prepared for. This section of West Falmouth is very historic. If we lose one of these houses due to a fire or so forth, and it is historic, it's lost forever. So, as in any house, we obviously want to do the best we can to protect it. But of particular importance is some of these historic buildings, and one of which is the Quaker Meeting House, which, if any of you have been inside, is pretty, I wouldn't say impressive, in that it's not fantastic inside. It's impressive for its plainness, and it's impressive for its, oops, I should have really pulled down, there we go, okay, for its rustic and real plain manner. So, pretty interesting building. Even if you can walk outside, there's a little cemetery just beside it. As I mentioned, there's a cemetery beside it, but there's also one up in the end of the Friends Way. So this is a building here that we'd want to obviously try to protect, and is a part of West Falmouth and makes it a village. And this is what we're talking about, West Falmouth Village. This is what makes it a village, is places like this. This is West Falmouth Library. Once again, if you haven't been inside, I would invite you to go in. It's a pretty interesting building to go in. There used to be a daycare center in the basement there. I do not believe they have that anymore. I believe that's they have moved to like a little red schoolhouse on Blacksmith Shop Road up by the ball field. But being that as it's May, there's the West Falmouth Library. And we will return as we go down West Falmouth Highway. We end up, we end up the funeral home in the corner of Baker's Lane. In Baker's Lane's a short road, but as you can see, there's 5 or 6 houses in there, tucked along the edge, tucked along the bike path. I believe this unit here is a apartment complex, so those are the things to be aware of. And then, of course, the funeral home is there. Then across the street in these complexes here is the Annandale Apartments. And that has a box on it as well. It's a multi-unit apartment building. There's 3 or 4 buildings in there that are multi-units having about 6 apartments in each. And they are important because they are multi-unit, but as you will see from some of these pictures, they could use a little work, and folks in them seem to have, whoops, there we go, get in better perspective, Rogers, watch what you're doing. Okay, there we go, we get better perspective there. Folks there seem to perhaps be of limited means, so it's a little place there that we could bear watching. This unit here has approximately 4 apartments front to back. In here it's all wood frame, and then this little attachment over here probably has a couple of units in there, as I'm seeing there, and it does have a little bit of disrepair. And I want to point out, let's see, we'll go here. This should be showing the box and also the rear of the apartments, which we cannot see too well here, but it looks like this is the main entrance around the back here. But there's our box. I also took this picture because I wanted to show the overhead wire hazard, which we may not see at night if we're trying to ladder this building from either the, I don't know which way we'd say is A, B, and C. I suppose if this is A, then the left-hand side could be a B. But if we're trying to bring a ladder through here or anything, we're going to have a little tough time. But I would encourage you to go in there, especially if you're stationed in West Falmouth, because it's not only this building here, but there's also a red apartment unit building right next to it that has about 6 apartments in it, and they're cut up into little oh, why won't this thing focus in here? Oh God, there we go. Okay, so that's what we have to look at. Everybody thinks of West Falmouth as being Chappaquiddick Island and being all these ritzy glitzy places, but when in fact there are quite a few places in here, lower income apartments or buildings or larger houses that have been cut up into apartments. Some of them, like the house right on the, used to be a Caleb Hamlin house, Captain O'Hamlin house, has been broken up into condominiums. So what we'll see with that in the years gone, of course, the Ideal Spot Motel is gone. West Falmouth Market is over here. Then we have Old Dock Road shoots up there. Okay. All right. Now I want to zoom in a little bit here. See if we can't get this to do what we want it to do. Get it to work for us instead of against us here. All right, let's see. I think once more we'll try that. Okay. See if this map will give us a little detail. I'm going to get rid of the purple here, and that was just to show the rescue districts, which I think we've got a handle on. Okay. This is what I wanted to show here. A lot of these, as we've gone down West Falmouth Highway, have described that. Also next to the market being right here, right over in here we have apartments, and we did have a fire in one of the apartments back over here. It ended up being 4 units, 2 on the first floor and 2 on the second floor in this building here. So that's something we have to be aware of. Also, we have Stagecoach Way. Very difficult to see the road sign, very difficult to see the actual road because it actually looks like a driveway and it runs behind these people's houses or these apartments. So I would behoove you to go down and check it out and drive it. It follows a little dirt road and the one hydrant here, but as we will go along, it follows a dirt road and runs up to another house that looks small on this map but has since been rebuilt. This house here has been rebuilt, number 50 Stagecoach, and it borders on the Westmoreland development up in here. So we need to be aware that that is how we get there. But once we do have the fire and we lay this line in here, which will almost be 1,000 to 1,200 feet, that's it. No other vehicles are going to get up in there. So, you know, hopefully we won't have a fire and incident up here, but especially into these houses, they're going to get in. It's going to be tough for us to move around. Old Windmill Lane, and then we have the Westmoreland development here, and I'm going to see if I can work that into, here we go. Okay. One thing we will have to notice here while we're talking about this is that we have this peculiar circumstance here. This is number 6 Westmoreland Drive. You think Westmoreland in my mind is all single family houses, approximately 2,000 square foot to 3,000 square foot houses. We got topography issues up there, but we know this is 2 or 3 story buildings, ranches, capes, etc. But here we have a condominium development here with 2 units there, 2 units there, and then a single unit over here. And 28A allows them to do that, but their driveway runs off of Westmoreland here. Now the same thing is up 691 West Falmouth Highway right here is a condominium development as well, across from Cordwood Landing Road. Okay, Westmoreland, we're going to zoom out here. Westmoreland runs in and up this development. Okay, there's hydrants throughout the whole area. Comes to cul-de-sac. Then we run into Ridgeview Drive, which would be remembered, runs up the ridge, right behind the Route 28, the highway, and it connects up to Ambleside. Ambleside runs down. Now, I will mention here these little markings are a gallonage per minute. Most of them look over 1,000 or close to 1,000 gallons a minute, so we're pretty good shape with that. Ambleside crosses over Carlisle and connects over to Westmoreland again. Okay, so that's how that development goes. Then we have Carlisle coming in off of Route 28A. If you go straight through, you come to the cul-de-sac. Take a right, you're on Ambleside. A left, you're on Ambleside, and Ambleside connects you to Brantwood and Ridgeview. Okay. Okay, now we will quickly, I know this is getting kind of long here, but we'll work our way down. There's a lot to cover here. We end up on Chase Road is our other road, and off of Chase we have Low, not Lower, but we have Low Way or Lowe's Way. Okay, it services a couple of houses at the end. We have Stonehenge Lane, and Chase Road runs up. Also Dealey Lane, a few houses on Dealey. Of course, this is the bike path here. Then we run up Chase until we get to the end, and Chase runs over the little creek and backs up to the Colonial Way development up over here. So just quick to notice that we were talking about Shopquit Bars Road in Kelvin Grove, and we talked about these 2 houses at the end, 2 or 3 houses, they actually back up to Chase Road. And on Chase Road, I believe one of these houses in here is an older, as we're talking about an antique house, an old house. This house here has been restored, so it's in pretty good shape. It wasn't that long ago that it was not in good shape, but since then it's been taken care of pretty well, as you can see. But it is an old house, and could mean balloon frame construction as we go in there. The rest of the houses on Chase Road are fairly new, probably built from the 50s, 60s on up. This house is old. The other thing we need to be aware of on Chase is the Beach Rose Inn, which is a 7-box as well. It's the Beach Rose Inn. Has this main building and then an annex building. You'd think, okay, Chase is a residential area. We're not going to have any multifamilies, but here we do. Okay. Pop those down. Here we go. And get back on working down Chase. There we go. Okay. All right. And we work down Eric Clausen Lane. A few houses on Eric Clausen Lane. Over here we go. About 8 houses there. This development here is some condos that have been put in. It should be about 860 or I believe about 850 West Falmouth Highway, but they have called this Foreman Lane. I don't know if that's what they're going to be calling it now or whether they're going to be using it as 850 West Falmouth Highway. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I bet you there's going to be about 9 condo units in there. I believe they're all duplex units. Okay, so okay, then we'll move down. We'll end up down by Bourne's Pond. All right, I wanted to point out a couple of things while we are right here. Just a couple of more pictures here. We talked about those condos on Westmoreland, and this photograph is of the units that are there, and they're divided in half by, there's 2 garages, one on one side, one on the other side. They're in pretty good shape, but that is, and their sign as you go in is Fieldstone Place, number 6 Westmoreland Drive. The only reason I mention that is just because it is a multifamily. It presents a larger hazard to us than we would if we had a regular single-family home, and we just don't want to be so surprised. Okay, we're talking about multi-unit apartments, and this is a building that's on 28A in West Falmouth, and this was once one larger house and has since been broken up into several apartments. And we look at this and go, okay, looks like a regular house. What are we running into? It's a 2.5-story, 3-story building, wood frame. Some of the clues that we're going to be seeing here is right over here. When we look at these houses, we see 4 electric meters, telling us probably at least 4 apartments. We got 3 satellite dishes, so is probably looking at 4 apartments in this building, and it looks like 2 doors to the left heading to some apartments. I would say those ones are probably heading towards the 2nd floor, whereas this one central door is probably heading to some 1st floor apartments. Just little clues as we go in, and we want to give that report, or we want to be thinking that when we go there and attending to an emergency at this building here. Map here just quickly showing that this whole area of West Falmouth is pretty well protected by hydrants. And I know this looks a little odd here, the way this map is here, but I want to just show quickly the topography changes here. I mean, here we do not have any topo lines or elevation lines, and here we do. On the other side of the highway we do, and on up is a lot of hills and valleys and so forth. So we'll get rid of the topo map here. All right, and just to summarize what we're working on here, we're working on West Falmouth's Main Street, the north part of West Falmouth's Main Street, 28A, in the West Falmouth Village. Thomas B. Landers down the Chappaquiddick Road. Particular reason why we're doing this area is because it is the dividing line between Station 3 having a second due district. It's Station 3 Rescue District and also Station 3 second due. In this area here we have approximately 250 structures, 500 plus residents. Some of these structures are either condos or multiple units, as we've mentioned before. Predominantly there's wood frame construction in this area. It is a mixed-use area, as we have talked about. It is single families, inns, condos, multi-unit apartment buildings, historic structures, and also business, the West Falmouth Market, the funeral home, on and on in that area, the stone store, a lot of home business, carpenters, so forth along there. The roads in the neighborhood are 28A. Foreman Lane is that area where the condos, I believe 850 West Falmouth Highway, Eric Clausen Lane. Chase Road, we have Lowe's Way, Stonehenge and Dealey. Cordwood Landing, Old Windmill, Stagecoach, near the market there, Westmoreland. On the Westmoreland development, we have Westmoreland, we have Carlisle, we have Ambleside, we have Brantwood, and then we have Baker's Lane by the funeral home, Blacksmith Shop Road, number 8 to 130. We have Friends Way, Lindsley Road, Fraser Road, Telegraph Hill Road. The hazards, not anything really high, something like a big mill building or hazardous materials complex, but some of the more common everyday hazards. Obviously the most dangerous hazard is a single family dwelling, wood frame, but in this case we have multifamily wood frame. These are just some of the addresses that I popped up. The 850 condos, 691, 606, those are up right by Westmoreland. 544 is the Cabin Hamlin House, and then 6 Westmoreland is tucked in there. We have multiple unit apartment buildings, just to name a few. The Annandale Apartments, the Emerson House. We also have West Falmouth Getty, West Falmouth Market, and historic antique structures. We're talking about the library. We're talking about the Quaker meeting house. We're talking about some buildings like the Emerson House, which is a 1800s building, which presents hazards as far as construction. We also have the terrain to work with, where we have very hilly terrain on the east side of Route 28A. So that could present us with houses being perhaps 1 story on one level and 3 stories in the rear. We saw that in Woods Hole, how quickly it can be to get injured at a fire scene in which the terrain is obscured by smoke, and suddenly the ground drops away from you and you're injured. So, or how we need to get ladders around some buildings. So that's something we need to pay attention to. Response, obviously 23 and 24. On the medicals, stills, and first, those are pretty straightforward for us. I think everybody's got that. Responses, these are the ones, this is up to Ridgeview Drive. And so these are the ones that are very close to Station 4, very close in that, Station 4 it makes a big difference with this district. If West Falmouth were not there, and these folks here, this is what we'd see for response times. If Station 4 were closed or were shut down permanently, this is what we'd see for these folks out here, is we'd see 7-minute response times. We'd see 10-minute response times instead of between 2 and 4. So this is the areas that you really the meat and potatoes for Station 4. And these hazards up here are certainly nothing to be sneezed at. We let some of these things get away from us, and we've got a larger problem. But Station 4 to the top of Ridgeview Drive, just as an example, less than a mile, a couple of minutes. Station 3, it's going to take you 7 minutes. So like in 5 minutes where you're going to be on your own. Station 4, and headquarters is going to take you about 10 minutes to get out there. And then Station 5 is 5.7 miles away. They're the next closest, and Station 2 is 7.3. So that kind of wraps up the this section of West Falmouth that we were talking about. And I want to thank you once again for working through this program here. And I hope that some of this has been some value into your response to these areas. Okay, until the next time we meet again, stay safe and eat healthy.